Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi amma ba'du. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to another episode of Freedom in Al-Islam. And in the previous segment, we dealt with the two conditions, the two pillars of al-ibadah. The first pillar being al-ikhlas, and an individual only worshiping Allah and doing everything solely for Allah. And the second pillar, the second condition is al-mutaba'ah, and we left off on al-mutaba'ah. If you allow me just to go back just a little bit, I just want to reiterate something about the importance of the first pillar of al-ikhlas, that a person calls on Allah, makes dua to Allah with ikhlas, and worships Allah with ikhlas. Some of the non-Muslims of Quraysh, the asaf, they understand and they practice some aspects of al-Islam better than some Muslims. I don't say, and I did not say, that those non-Muslims are better than Muslims. I said that they understand and they practice some aspects of al-Islam better than some Muslims. I give you an example, and I'm talking about the non-Muslims of Quraysh, Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl, and people like that, Umayy ibn Khalif. These people, they understood some aspects of a tawheed better than some Muslims today. The asaf shadid. This issue of al-ikhlas. Allah Azza wa Jal, He told us in the Quran about those kuffar, وَإِذَا رَكِبُوا فِي الْفُلْكِ دَعُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. فَلَمَّا He said, إِذَا رَكِبُوا فِي الْفُلْكِ, when they ride on the ocean and the waves come and their problems, they turn to Allah Azza wa Jal. They turn to Allah with ikhlas. Da'ullaha mukhlisina lahu din. When there are waves, they make shirk with Allah. And then when He saves them and puts them on the shore, lo and behold, they make shirk with Allah. So the kuffar of Quraysh and the mushrikun of yesterday, when times were good, they made shirk. When they were on the land and they were safe and sound, they made shirk. But when they were in difficult times, ash-shada'id wal-mashakil, when they were in a problem, then they used to make dua with ikhlas. They would call on Allah with ikhlas. There are some Muslims who they make shirk in the good times and they make shirk in the bad times. Good times and the bad times. If his wife gets pregnant and she has difficulty with her pregnancy, he goes to the grave and he makes shirk with Allah Azza wa Jal, instead of turning to Allah alone. Another example of that is the non-Muslims of Quraysh. When the Prophet came to them, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he said to them, "O my people, ya ma'shar Quraysh, qulu la ilaha illallah." Say la ilaha illallah. They understood that la ilaha illallah, it was different from what Muslims understand today. Some Muslims understand that la ilaha illallah means there's no God except Allah. And it doesn't mean that. La ilaha illallah, there's no God except Allah. It doesn't mean that. There are many gods along with Allah. There is the sun, the moon. Some people worship money. Some people worship Isa ibn Maryam. The Hindus, they worship so many gods. Sikhs worship so many gods. Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, "Have you not seen the one who has taken his desires as his God?" There are many gods that are worshipped along with Allah. So if a person says La ilaha illallah means there's no God except Allah, that's not true. Quraysh didn't understand that. The meaning of La ilaha illallah is what Quraysh understood, that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah. Only Allah deserves to be worshipped. As for all of those other manufactured gods, the gods that the people created, then they don't deserve to be worshipped. Only Allah. So it consists of a nephew, wal ithbat. So la ilaha illallah, just like al-ibadah. Al-ibadah has two conditions. It has two pillars, ruknan. The same thing with the shahada. La ilaha illallah. It has two rukns, two pillars, ruknan. The first one, al-nafy. The second one, al-ithbat. That you have to negate that any and everything else deserves to be worshipped. And then you have to establish, with the exception of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Quraysh heard that the Prophet told them, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, qulu la ilaha illallah, say la ilaha illallah, they knew right away. That means that we're going to lose money. Because we as Quraysh, we own the Kaaba. We are the custodians of the Kaaba. And at the Kaaba, there are many, many idols, many gods that the people in the Arabian Peninsula, they come to Mecca, like in Surah Quraysh, Li Ilafi Quraysh. This surah, they will come in the summertime, wintertime, and then they will go back to Asham in the summertime, and they would make money when the Arabs came to Mecca. They would give money and pay homage to these idols. So Quraysh would get money from the pilgrims. But when the Prophet said, say la ilaha illallah, they knew if there's only one God, it's going to get rid of these other idols, Allat, Al-Uzza, and Manat, and that means we're going to lose money. So they understood what la ilaha illallah meant. And that's why they were insistent we have to keep these other gods. They say, but they knew Allah. They believed in Allah. They believed in the rububiyyah of Allah, that Allah was the Lord and Allah was the creator and Allah was the sustainer and Allah provided for them. Allah said in the Quran, وَلَئِن سَأَلْتُهُمْ مَنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ لَيَقُولُنَّ اللَّهِ. If you ask them, Muhammad, who created the heavens and the earth? Verily, they're going to say, they were created by Allah. They knew that. Some of them named their children Abdullah and they were mushrikeen. The Prophet, his father's name was Abdullah. And his father was created before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if you ask them, but what about these idols? Why do you have them? Why are they here? You believe in Allah, his rububiyyah, that he's the creator. We only have them because they get us close to Allah. They're our shufa'ah. They get us close to Allah. So we don't want to be like the people who we allow the non-Muslims of Quraysh, the aqliyah that they had. We don't want them to understand any aspect of a tawheed better than us. We have ikhlas to Allah in good times. We have ikhlas to Allah in bad times. As for al-mutaba'ah, we worship Allah in a way that he legislated. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he brought us a religion that we have to, in having freedom, in expressing and following our religion. We don't have complete freedom to do as we want, to do anything and everything that we want, and we call it ibadah. No, we have to follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And not only that, but we have to look at his companions and take them as a blueprint. You can't take the Quran and understand it the way that you want to understand it, nor can you take the Sunnah and understand it the way you want to understand it. We have to take that Quran, we have to take the Sunnah, and we have to understand it the way the companions did. We're not free to understand the religion the way we want to, in a liberal way. So this one, if he is allowed, he'll say homosexuality is permissible in Islam. And that one will come and say, I don't have to pray because I pray in my heart. And the other one will come and he will say, well, I don't have to go and I don't have to perform at Hajj, although I have 100,000 pounds, because I don't have a passport and I'm not going to get a passport. And passports weren't there during the time of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I don't have to make al-Hajj. No, you have to take the Quran and the Sunnah and you have to understand them and practice them the way that the companions understood and practiced them. And you're not free to break away from this principle. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, proving this point, فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا. If they believe the way you and your companions believe, Ya Muhammad, then they are guided aright. So Allah said, we have to believe the way the companions believed. And another ayat, Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned, وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. The first people who were Muslims, the companions, the Sabiqun al-Awwalun, the first Muslims from the Muhajirin and from the Ansar, the people of Mecca, like Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali, and the Ansar, the people like Abu Huraira and Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and Anas ibn Malik and Sa'd ibn Ubad and Sa'd ibn Mu'adh radiyallahu anhu. The Prophet, Allah said that in the Quran, and the people who follow them with ihsan. Following them with ihsan is following them in what they understood, and when they were collectively doing the same thing, you come and you have to do exactly what they did. So having al-mutaba'ah to the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam and following tenaciously the example of Rasulullah, it is something that is wajib upon everyone out there. Listen, as a Muslim, if I fall short of the mark and I'm making mistakes, I'm not dressing properly, I miss prayer here or there, I break my fast in Ramadan, I do something that's incorrect, I'm fasting during the day, but I'm acting ignorantly, I'm making ghiba, namima, I'm watching musalsalat that go against the religion, I'm listening to music. If I'm muqassir and muhmil and I'm making those mistakes, then let me just say, astaghfirullah wa utubu ilayh. I seek istighfar. I make istighfar and I make tawbah. You have to say that. But never, ever, ever allow yourself to think or to be duped that you're okay. I'm just okay. I can do what I want. No, you can't do what you want. We have to do what the Prophet showed us, and we have to do it the way he showed us. A man came into his masjid, and the man prayed 2 rakats very quickly without any discipline. He was not focused, and he prayed very quickly. And after praying 2 rakats, he said, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum. Then he came and he approached the Prophet who was also praying. He said, Assalamu alaikum. The Prophet was sitting in the masjid. He said, Assalamu alaikum, Ya Rasulullah. The Prophet said, Wa alaikum salam. Irja fasalli fannaka lam tusalli. Go back and pray because you didn't pray. The man went back and he prayed very quickly. He came, Assalamu alaikum, Ya Rasulullah. He said, Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Irja fasalli fannaka lam tusalli. Go back and pray because you didn't pray. The man prayed a 3rd time very quickly, no discipline, like many people who pray, looking all around. He said, go back and pray because you didn't pray. We'll complete this, inshallah, azza wa jal, after the commercial break. Barakallah feekum. Welcome back to the other half of this segment. When the man came back the 3rd time, after being instructed, go and pray because you didn't pray, he said, Ya Rasulullah, this is all I know about salah. This is the salah. Teach me. So the Nabi told him, if you want to make the salah, فَأَسْبَغِ الْوُضُوء, make a good wudu. He started before you even pray. You have to make a good wudu. Don't waste water, but use water. Make sure it hits all of the body parts. And then he told him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ثُمَّ اسْتَقْبَلَ الْقِبْلَةِ, then turn towards the qibla, which is one of the things you have to do in the prayer. And then say Allahu Akbar. And then Iqraa ma tayassara laka min al-Quran. And then read what is easy for you from the Quran. Long, short. And then after that say Allahu Akbar and go into ruku'. And then he told him, while you're bowing, bow with at-tuma'nina. Take it easy. Don't just bow and come up like you were doing. Bow and take your time. Look with your eyes to the place where you're going to put your forehead for the sajda. That was the sunnah, al-mutaba'ah. The Prophet, when he bowed, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he looked at the place where he's going to make sajda. Then the Nabi told him, when you come up, stand up. Don't just come up and then go back down into sajda. Stand up. Say the dua. Take your time. And then go to sajda and stay in sajda and have a relaxed nature. And he went through the whole prayer. So why do I mention this? I mention it because al-mutaba'ah is that you have to follow the Nabi in that prayer. So a person may do a deed, he may do. That man prayed. That man was like many of us. That person went and he prayed, but he didn't pray the prayer of Islam. He didn't pray the prayer of Islam. He didn't pray the prayer that's going to be in his scales, Yawmul Qiyamah. He didn't pray the salat that Allah is happy with. He went through the mechanics and the motions. You can teach that to a monkey. A monkey, you could come and teach him how to pray. A parrot, babaga. You could teach him how to recite what needs to be said in the salah, but you don't say that the monkey prayed, and you don't say that the parrot, he said the words of salah, he did the salah. You don't say that. So we don't want to be of those people. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam got on his minbar and he did the salat, and then he told the people, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Pray the way you just saw me praying. And he showed them the month of Ramadan. He told us the reality of many people's fasting. May Allah protect us. He said, Rubba sa'im laysa lahu min siyamihi illa al-ju' wal-'atash. It may be that a person is fasting, but he doesn't take anything and he doesn't get any benefit from his fasting except that he makes himself hungry and thirsty. He's just not having relationships with his wife. She's not having relationships with her husband. And he's not eating or drinking, and she's not eating or drinking, but they're not fasting because look at the way that the individual is behaving. His behavior is contrary to fasting. Allah said about fasting, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyamu kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. In the hopes that you would get taqwa, fasting has been made wajib, prescribed upon you. So if a person is not exemplifying taqwa, then he's not fasting. He's not getting the benefit of fasting. No benefit. So we have to have al-mutaba'a, the second condition, the second pillar of al-ibadah. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He mentioned in the Quran, وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. What the Nabi told you to do, do it. And what he told you to leave alone, leave it alone. Allah said in the Quran, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا لِيُطَاعَ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. We never sent a Rasul, we never sent a messenger, except that he should be obeyed by Allah's permission and by Allah's permission alone. So the Nabiyyu sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he makes haram, he makes halal, just as Allah makes halal, just as Allah makes haram, because Allah gave him that ability. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said about Al-Medina, he said that Allah made Mecca a haram. In the Quran, Allah made Mecca haram. It's the haram. He said, I made Medina also a haram, a sanctuary, just as Allah made Mecca a haram. So Medina became muqaddasa. It became a place that was sacred because Allah told the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam to make it like that. There's no ayahs in the Quran that say Al-Medina is muqaddasa. We have Bayt al-Maqdis in Jerusalem. It's muqaddas, that masjid and that place. We also have in Mecca, in the Quran, but there's no ayat of the Quran that makes Al-Medina muqaddasa. It's the authentic sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have to have al-mutaba'a. There's another issue that I want to explain, inshallah, in the last portion of this segment. And that is, ikhwani, the sunnah is really important and it's really critical. And a person will not be able to practice Islam correctly without the sunnah. As a matter of fact, if you gave an individual the Quran, all of it, and you gave another individual the sunnah, all of it, and you put one on an island and the other one on another island, the one who has the sunnah is going to practice Islam more complete and in a better way than the one who has the Quran. So if you can imagine the reciter of the Quran, the Qari, he knows what he's doing. He knows 7 qira'at. He knows 7 qira'at. If you were to test him, he was so prolific and so good with itqan and precision. If you said, I want you to read the next ayah, the last place in the Quran where Allah says, Wallahu ghafurur rahim. Where is the last place in the Quran where that ayah is mentioned? Because it's mentioned in many places. But you tell him, the last place that is mentioned, what's the next ayah? And without hesitating, he can read the next ayah. That's how good he is. That's how good he is. You put him on an island with the Quran and you say, here, practice the religion with that Quran. Then another man, he didn't memorize all of the Quran, but he had all of the sunnah from alif to ya, all of the sunnah. And you told him, go on an island, you practice al-Islam. That man right there with the sunnah on an island, he's going to practice all of Islam, all of it. He's going to know how to pray. He's going to know how to give zakat. He's going to know how to do Sawm. He's going to know how to make Hajj and Umrah. He's going to know how to make jihad. He's going to know how to get married. He's going to know how to get divorced. He's going to know about the aqiqah. He's going to know about the walima for the nikah. He's going to know everything about his religion. As for this man over here, he's going to know a lot of the religion, but he won't know how to pray. He won't know that Al-Fajr is 2 rakats, and Asr is 4, and Dhuhr is 4, and Maghrib is 2 and 1, 3 altogether, and Isha is 4. You read out loud in 2 of them, and then you read quietly in the last 2. He's not going to know that. He's not going to know about the aqiqah of his child. Not only that, but he's going to get married to people who he doesn't even know that he can't marry them. Because there's an ayat in Surah An-Nisa, حرمت عليكم أمهاتكم وبناتكم وأخواتكم وعماتكم وخالاتكم. And Allah mentions all those people who we can't marry. Your mothers, your daughters, your sisters, your maternal aunties, paternal aunties, your sons' children, your wife. And Allah goes through all of that. And he mentions all of those people. So the one with the Quran, he's not going to marry those people. But there are 2 people who are not mentioned in the Quran. You can't marry your wife and your wife's auntie at the same time. You have your wife, and then there is your wife's auntie from the father's side, and your wife's auntie from the mother's side. Her khala and her amma. If you're married to your wife, you cannot marry either one of her aunties while you're married to your wife. If you get divorced from your wife, if the wife were to die, la samahallah, if that happened, and you wanted to marry her khala, you wanted to marry her maternal auntie or her paternal aunt, then it's okay. But while they are living, you can't marry them with your wife. That's not in the Quran. So we come to say, without any doubt, that the people who call themselves the Qur'aniyin, the people, the Qur'anites, the people of the Quran, they are the akdhabun nas, kadhibun, wallahi, muftirun. They're muftirun. They are fable tellers, fib tellers. They're telling fibs. They're lying. They are the people who say, we only take the Quran. Just give us the Quran. Because you know, those hadith, some hadith are authentic, some are not authentic, which is true. Some are authentic, some are not authentic. But we know which ones are authentic and we know which ones are not authentic. If you study your religion, you'll come to know. But just like that, from your own mind, you take what you want, you leave what you want. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, يا أيها الذين آمنوا ادخلوا في السلم كافة ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. Oh, you believe, enter into the religion wholeheartedly. All of the religion. The kabir of the religion and the saghir of the religion. The wadih of the religion and what is not wadih from the religion. The mahkum as well as the mutashabih. Enter into this religion wholeheartedly. Enter into what you understand and accept it. You have to accept it. What you don't understand, you have to accept it. The important thing is that you come into the religion wholeheartedly. And you don't say, I'm going to pick and choose from the religion what makes me feel good. That was a practice of the people who are the munafiqun, the people of hypocrisy. And wallahi, ikhwani, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he prophesied and he told us that these people were going to come, the Qur'aniyun. He knew it. He said in an authentic hadith, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, la yattaqiyanna ahadukum ala arikatin ya'tihi shay'un mimma amartu bihi aw nahaytu anhu fayaqul alayya bi kitabillah. Don't let any of you recline on a couch. And in another hadith he said, la yattaqi ahadukum ala arikati shab'an. Don't let someone, he has a fat stomach, he ate a lot, he didn't make any sacrifices for the religion like the companions did. He just comes and the religion is easy for him. I take what I want, I leave what I want. The same way you pick a piece of fruit like a grape off of a tree. Easy. Take the, I don't like this one. He threw those away. The religion is not like that. He said, don't any of you recline comfortably with a full stomach on your couch. Something comes to you from what I told you to do, or something comes to you from what I prohibited you from. And then you say, hey, bring me the Quran. Bring me the Quran. Whatever is in the Quran that's halal, I'll make it halal. Whatever is in the Quran that's haram, I make it haram. He went on to say in that same hadith, Ala inni utitul Qur'ana wa mithluhu ma'ahu. Verily, I've been given the Qur'an and what is similar to the Qur'an. So in dealing with the issue of freedom in al-Islam, al-ubudiyah, and having the ibadah of Allah Azza wa Jal, then as we Muslims have to understand and have to embrace, we cannot worship Allah and we can't practice this religion the way we want to. But there are boundaries, hudud. And we'll talk about a very important issue connected to that in the upcoming talk. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.